All right, happy Monday and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for June 17th, 2024. It's the 25th Monday of the year already, the third of 4 Mondays this month, and National Eat Your Vegetables Day. Yes, very important. And it's Take Your Cat to Work Day, so beware if you're allergic or you just don't like cats. There may be some at the workplace today. No offense to the cat lovers. Hope you had a wonderful and safe weekend. Believe it or not, July 1st is exactly 2 weeks from today, which means the first of 2 scheduled debates between President Biden and former President Trump is now less than 2 weeks away. Thursday, June 27th in Atlanta, hosted by CNN. Newsmax reporter Mike Carter spoke about it with Donald Trump in Michigan over the weekend.
Today, though, CNN announced it had finalized the rules for your first presidential debate, now less than 2 weeks away, with both your campaign and the Biden campaign. Look, we know you go into this debate with a whole host of things to go after President Biden on, whether it's illegal immigration, you talk about an economy that's not working for many Americans, and the wars in Ukraine and Israel, which you say would not have happened under your leadership. I know you're ready for this. President Biden will go after you on the topics of January 6th and your criminal conviction in New York. How do you plan on responding to those attacks?
Well, first of all, this conviction was a Democrat hoax started by him as election interference and really attacking a political opponent never been seen before in this country. It's done by third world countries, by banana republics, never been done by this country. And it's a disgrace, and he's a disgrace. I mean, with his record and his family's record, he's a disgrace to have done it. And the gloves have come off because of it, and frankly, it allows you to speak more freely. Look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He makes Jimmy Carter look brilliant, frankly, the Carter administration. And he is just a disaster. Now we have Russian ships and submarines right off the coast of Miami and Cuba, just a few minutes away. It's just a disaster. What this man has done to our country with allowing millions and millions of people to pour in unvetted, unchecked, and they come from jails and they come from mental institutions all over the world. They're emptying out their criminals. They're emptying out their people with mental problems into our country, and he's allowing it to happen by the millions. And I tell you, he is just a disastrous president. And if we don't get him out, we've got ourselves a real, I mean, we already have a mess, believe me. I'll get it solved, but it's just getting worse by the day when you look at what's happening to our country. Think of it, Russian ships circling Cuba.
It's unbelievable. Mr. President, we're here in Detroit today. Hundreds of people coming out here in the highest black population city in the country to see you. What kind of economic policies will you enact as president that will help communities like this one, which are still trying to rebound after decades of decay? How will you help black and Latino voters this election?
We've already done it with the most successful program probably there has been for black and Latino, but in particular, in this case, black, the opportunity zones. And they have been incredible. Did that with Tim Scott, senator from South Carolina. And it's been a tremendous, almost a miracle. It's been one of the most, probably the most successful program of its kind ever tried. We're very honored by it. But we had the best economy. Blacks were working at levels never seen before. Now their wages are way down, and what's happening is the illegals coming in, they're taking their jobs. The black population and Hispanic population is more affected by the Latinos coming into our country than anybody. And I'll add somebody else or some other group, unions. Unions are being hurt terribly. When you have 15, 16 million people coming into the country, the unions are being decimated. And they don't like talking about it, but that's what's happening. They're being decimated by the Biden policies, but also by millions of people pouring into the country.
You've received more black support than any presidential candidate in modern history. You mentioned one name, Tim Scott, one of several names that you've mentioned or have been mentioned for vice president. I know you said that you won't announce that pick until the convention next month. But when it comes to choosing a vice president, sir, how important is executive experience, whether it's in business like yourself or in government?
Well, I think it's very important. It's something that comes natural to some and it comes very unnaturally to others, but executive experience is important. But a president is sort of covers all aspects. It's politics, it's executive and knowing what to do and knowing the feel of a nation and the touch and all these different qualities. You need everything. And Tim is a very good man, and we have a lot of good people that we're looking at, and we'll be announcing probably during the convention. But the most important thing, and I've said this quite a bit, and I guess a lot of people would say it, is if something should happen, something bad, I guess, it would have to be. But if something should happen, we have to have somebody that can step right in and do a great job as president.
Former President Trump speaking with Newsmax reporter Mike Carter in Detroit, where he had multiple campaign events this weekend with South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, who you heard him mention there, Dr. Ben Carson, and Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, 3 black conservatives.
Byron Donalds is an incredible guy. Incredible guy. And I noticed he happens to be on the list of potential vice presidents.
At this point, you would have to think one of those 3 is going to be the running mate, and after that comment, maybe Byron Donalds. But you just don't ever know with Trump. He loves to throw those curveballs and keep people guessing, and maybe that's exactly what he wants Democrats to think, and then he'll announce someone else completely different. But I think it's safe to say that those 3 will definitely be on the team should Donald Trump win re-election. Byron Donalds was also on Meet the Press yesterday, which was spectacular, as most of his interviews are. I'll play some of that in a moment. President Biden and the First Lady spent their weekend campaigning in California. But first, here's some of Donald Trump's roundtable discussion with black pastors in Detroit.
We've done more for, and I say this, I say it proudly, more for the black population than any president since Abraham Lincoln. That's a big statement. And Crooked Joe Biden has done nothing for you except talk. It's only talk. It's all talk. He gets nothing. He gets nothing for anyone. He was lost. He's in Europe. He's walking around. He doesn't know where the hell he is, and he's supposed to help Detroit. I don't think so. But we achieved the lowest African-American unemployment rate and the lowest African-American poverty rate ever recorded during my 4 years. We lifted 6.6 million people out of poverty. Black Americans saw their largest increase in home ownership on record. There's never been anything like it. This is during our period of time. We gave record funding to historically black colleges and universities. You all know that, and got great support. And I will just tell you a quick story. The heads of the colleges would come to Washington once every year, and after 2 years, I said, why do you guys keep coming? And I liked them. I liked a couple of them, really, they're friends of mine, but the whole group was very, they were just terrific people, men and women heading up the colleges, and I said, why do you keep coming? Because they won't give us long-term financing. We have to come back every year. One said, and I say respectfully, he said, they make us feel like a bunch of beggars. We have to come back to Washington every year. I said, well, we're going to take care of that. And I got them actually more money than they asked for by far, and we got them long-term financing. And I said, the only thing sad is that I'll never see you again, probably. I will never meet you again, because we got used to meeting. I kept saying, and then after a couple of years, I said, why do you have to keep coming back? I mean, he said, we've been doing this for a long time, for 20 years, I guess. The one gentleman said he was there 20 years. He's been doing it for 20 years. I said, that's not right. And they do a very important job and a great job. And so I got you long-term financing, and I think all of them are voting for Trump. I don't know. I can't say maybe, but I'd say 99% of them. And if they aren't, I don't know what the hell the other side did, but we'll start an investigation or something, okay? We passed historic criminal justice reform, something that they've been after, people have been after for mostly the black community for years and years. And to get it done, they needed me. And as you know, President Obama tried. Biden doesn't even try. Well, he doesn't have to, because we got it done, but we're going to get it improved. But President Obama tried, was unable to get it done. You needed conservative votes, and I got conservative votes, and we got criminal justice reform done. Nobody else could have done that.
That is Donald Trump with a group of black pastors and parishioners at the 180 Church in Detroit. He also spoke at a Turning Point USA rally.
To fight Joe Biden's inflation, I will stop the Biden migrant. This is a Biden migrant invasion. An estimated 50% of inflation has been caused by the soaring cost of housing, which is skyrocketing due to Joe Biden's tidal wave of illegal immigration and high interest rates. And they're putting these illegal aliens into luxury hotels as our great warriors lie on the streets. We have people that came into our country illegally, and they're living in hotels and even luxury hotels, and our veterans are lying in the streets. How sick is it? Sick. And by the way, when we ran the VA, we had a 92% approval rating. And we took it up from 41%, which I don't even think was 41. And now it's back to where it was. So many of the things we did, they wanted to end. We took care of our veterans at a level that nobody's ever seen before. One thing we said, if you have to wait online, and I had to get this done through Congress, if you had to wait online for more than one day, you go out to a private doctor, get yourself better, or we pay the bill, right? That sounds sensible. People were waiting for 3 months, for 4 months, for 2 weeks. Can you imagine you want to see a doctor, you really feel badly, and he says, good, come back in about a month and a half? People were becoming terminally ill that would have had a minor, they would have gotten a shot or they would have taken a pill. They were becoming terminally ill. Anybody waits more than 24 hours, you couldn't see a doctor. You go to a private doctor and we pay the bill. We had prices, we had schedules.
A gentleman by the name of Derek Gordon was at the event. He said he plans to run for governor of New York and came to Detroit to the event to support Trump.
I love President Trump for what he do for this nation. He put America first. He tries his best to uplift the black community. We had peace. We did not have wars like we have now under President Trump. He led strong, and the people around the world respected him, so I like that. And he had those great policies.
President Biden and the First Lady arrived back at the White House late last night after their weekend of fundraising in California.
The next president is likely to have 2 new Supreme Court nominees. 2 more.
Donald Trump is dangerous. Yes, to our livelihood, to our security, and to the future of our country. We simply cannot let him win.
Rumor is that George Clooney said he would donate even more if she didn't talk anymore. Okay, I made that part up. Former President Barack Obama, who was probably really the star of the liberal event in LA, literally and figuratively gave President Biden a helping hand. You've probably seen the video by now, right? Joe Biden again getting into his mannequin-like stance on stage and standing there for a few uncomfortable seconds until Obama takes him by the arm physically and escorts him off the stage. There is no way Obama isn't telling the rest of the party that Joe cannot go. Even if Michelle Obama really has no interest in being president, which I'm still sort of sticking to my guns with that. You remember President Obama didn't really want to endorse Joe Biden in 2020. How could he or anyone else actually in good conscience now feel confident in Joe? All he is doing, Joe Biden, is making a path for the vice president to become president. And you know they really don't feel good about her. More on President Biden and the Biden-Harris ticket from Newsmax host Lidia Curanaj.
Laugh if you may, but the joke is on us. Joe Biden, he's a shell of his former self. He's been in politics for almost 50 years. We know who this guy is. He is now a puppet running this country into the ground. Meantime... Like a shower now. Come on and dance with me right now. I just want to sing. Meantime, his cohort dancing, fiddling while our country burns and is under an unprecedented invasion. How many more innocents have to be killed? Look at her. Ridiculous. ICE arrested 8 men with ties to the terror group ISIS. These Tajikistan illegal aliens, they didn't sneak in, by the way. They're not gotaways. Like the other 10 million plus military-aged men from over 180 countries, Joe Biden, he invited them here. I want you to take a listen to this border agent venting to a CNN reporter that he is no longer even allowed to protect our nation.
Well, his job did take time to secure the border. We didn't have to babysit.
Does it frustrate you when you hear that, when you hear the narrative, like, why aren't Border Patrol doing anything? And
our hands are tied. If I don't allow them to cross and they call and complain, now I'm in trouble. Now I'm going to lose my job.
Why isn't Joe Biden doing his job that he swore an oath to do? He won't. He can't anymore, right? I mean, Biden's mental acuity, it's now become a lightning rod, a deciding factor in this upcoming election. According to a CBS News poll, only about a third of voters now think Biden even has the cognitive ability to serve as president. I mean, how much more low of a denominator do we have to go? If you do the math, 70% of voters don't even think Biden has the mental capacity to be the president. How many more dementia-type moments from Joe Biden does the world have to witness? Do Americans have to witness? The other half of the country have to witness before we all say no more, Joe?
That is Newsmax host Lidia Curanaj on Sunday Agenda. As I mentioned, Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, who campaigned with President Trump this weekend, also appeared on Meet the Press yesterday.
Well, two things. First of all, when you bring these comments up, please bring them in context. I'm glad that you mentioned what the campaign said afterwards, but I noticed that your network and a lot of the press are not doing that. With respect to Milwaukee, he was talking about allegations of voter fraud and also the crime rate. And I think it's important for people to understand your murder rate may be down, but that doesn't mean that violent crime, etc., are also lower. Those are two different pieces of crime. Obviously, murder is the most heinous of them all. Fine. Now, when it comes to the city of Milwaukee, the reason... Let me finish now. Now, when we talk about about Milwaukee, the reason why the RNC and President Trump want to go to Milwaukee is because we know there are voters in the state of Wisconsin, like voters all across America, who are frustrated with what has happened to our country under Joe Biden. Immigration massively up and out of control. The labor markets are okay, not great. Wages are down when you adjust them for inflation. People are struggling struggling to try to make ends meet in Joe Biden's America. So the president's taking his message everywhere, including the city of Milwaukee.
If you've been listening to the podcast for a while now, you know I have been talking up Byron Donalds for some time as a rising star in the Republican Party. I also happen to live in Florida, where he has certainly become a rising star in Florida. By the way, he spent, like 15 years, I think it was, or so, in the banking industry before getting into politics. So he knows what he's talking about. Today, President Biden is holding a bilateral meeting with Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg of NATO in the Oval Office. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre is holding a press briefing in the James S. Brady briefing room, where she is likely to face a barrage of questions again about the president's cognitive ability. Remember, like 6-7 weeks ago or so, Morning Schmo on MSNBC said, This is absolutely the best Joe Biden we have seen in his 50-year career. On Capitol Hill, the Secret Service is explaining to Congress why an agent protecting Vice President Harris was disarmed, handcuffed, and removed from duty after getting into a scuffle with his fellow agents. You may remember that story from a couple of months ago, and Congress looking into that now. And a quick shout out to the great state of Texas. Known as the King of Country, George Strait proved it over the weekend with a concert in Texas that broke the record for a ticketed concert event, playing to 110,905 fans at Texas A&M University's Kyle Field. That's their football stadium where their Aggies play. The previous record was a few hundred shy of that by the Grateful Dead at a New Jersey concert in 1997, so it has been some time. On Wall Street, the new week starting off in the red after the Dow and S&P closed in the red back on Friday. Retail sales numbers, one of the big things that Wall Street will be paying attention to this week. I think the earnings have come to an end, or at least slowed down quite a bit. The markets, by the way, will be closed on Wednesday for the Juneteenth holiday. You may have that day off of work as well. It is a federal holiday. Keep up with all of the news all day and night on Newsmax, Newsmax Plus, Plus and Newsmax.com. It's available on most major cable systems, including AT&T, Armstrong, Comcast, Cox Cable, Fios, Mediacom, Suddenlink, Xfinity, and many others, as well as Dish and DirecTV. And if you're not streaming on Newsmax Plus, go to NewsmaxPlus.com, get signed up immediately. You can also get a free trial. It includes all of your favorite shows and hosts. Greg Kelly Reports, The Record with Greta Van Susteren, Rob Schmidt Tonight, Carl Higbee, Frontline, Wake Up America, and more, with fantastic analysis from people like Governor Mike Huckabee, former acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker, Professor Dershowitz, Judge Napolitano. There's fantastic documentaries like you may have seen this weekend, special programs, and more. NewsmaxPlus.com. This is the Newsmax Daily Podcast, available at Newsmax.com/listen or anywhere else that you get podcasts. Have a fantastic Monday and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
It's our America. We conquered it. We built it. Great values like honesty and fairness. Great courage. A great nation needs a free press. Newsmax is it. 30 million Americans regularly go to Newsmax when they really need to know. They watch Newsmax TV at home. On the free Newsmax app, they go to Newsmax.com. Start today. Newsmax is real news for real people.